I think we're going to start.
All right, boleh.
All right. Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, everybody. Thank you for joining us on this Saturday morning. Wishing everybody a good health during this MCO season. I know everybody's like still sleepy because like everybody's lethargic and all because of the MCO season. So before we start, I want to lay some ground rules, maybe like certain objectives that we want to achieve by the end of this webinar. So as we all know, it's the start of the interview and assessment season, especially for applicants that has completed SPM in 2019. So what we want to provide to you is a platform in which you guys can get a better picture of what you guys are going to face in interviews and assessments by the sharing of our panelists today. They're going to share their experiences. They're going to share some tips with us so that you guys get a better overview of what you're probably going to face. And we're also going to tackle certain problems because we know that this year is going to be different from previous years because of the MCO, and we're going a lot of scholarship bodies are going to resort to online means. So we're also going to tackle that issue today, and also we're going to cater towards the younger generation, for the younger viewers out there who the 16 and 17-year-olds. So we know that because of the MCO phase, students get a lack of exposure to scholarship applications punya process, and we know that there is less training which is normally provided by the schools during this period, and we want to provide an opportunity for future applicants to also get an idea, right? So we want to provide you the knowledge on how to better prepare ourselves from high school, from our high school days. And lastly is to also remind the students to keep an open mind when applying for scholarships, and getting a scholarship should not be the highest symbol of success, right, guys? And I think that there is a lot of ways for you to see success, and getting a scholarship does not determine your success in your personal career. And we have to know that there are a lot of other opportunities. So before we begin, I would like to introduce our panelists for the day. Okay. So firstly is Komilin. Can Komilin say hi?
Hi.
All right. So our first speaker is Komilin. She's a Yayasan Khazanah scholar who is currently studying in Kolej Yayasan UEM. She is an ex-student of KYS and is planning to pursue economics. She aspires to bring joy and goodness to people who are in need. She's attended, apart from Yayasan Khazanah, she has also attended scholarship interviews with Bank Negara and Yayasan Tenaga Nasional. Our second speaker is Muhammad Irfan. Hello.
Hello.
Okay, thanks, Irfan. So Irfan is currently a student, a sixth form student in Kolej Tunku Jaafar. Our speaker is also a former student of Sri KDU Secondary. Despite being a Shell scholar, Irfan has also attended scholarship interviews with Petronas and JPA. In his free time, he loves producing music, and actually he just released the new album today. He goes by the name 50 Weeks. So you guys can go check it out at YouTube and Spotify.
Yeah, give me money, give me money.
All right, and our final speaker for today is Sofea Arisya, a former TKC student, actually a former TKC head girl actually. She's a proud Yayasan Khazanah scholar. She's also a KYUEM student along with Maylin and aspires to be a qualified actuary in the future. She also hopes to be a catalyst for change by empowering the youth of the nation. She fills her time with baking and volunteering activities. Last year, Sofea was also able to go through scholarship selection processes with Shell, Pemodalan Nasional Berhad, Mara, and also Bank Negara, apart from Yayasan Khazanah. So a reminder to all our viewers today, you guys can give your questions in the Q&A section on Zoom. And for our YouTube viewers, you guys can put your questions in the comment section. So we'll cater to your questions first. All right. Okay. All right. So I see that you guys are using the Q&A, the Zoom webinar chat as well. So that's fine also. Okay. All right. So last but not least, before we begin, I would like to promote a little bit. Want to ask everybody to subscribe to Cemerlang for more input like this. We're going to do a lot more webinars, a lot more content regarding scholarships or regarding your future. So I hope that everybody benefits. And we're going to tell you how to in the Zoom webinar chat, there is already a guideline on how you can subscribe to the Cemerlang magazine. All right, to begin. So we understand that a huge part of scholarship applications rely on our involvements in and our personal growth in high school, right? And we have to start from early age. So what are the necessary preparations that we should make in our high school? Can I, maybe Sofea can share us a little bit about this?
All right, Muiz. Okay, hi again, guys. Okay, addressing this question, right, regarding the necessary preparations that high schoolers, especially because I know that some juniors are attending this as well. So what you can actually prepare in high school, I would say that we could divide that in 3 things. First would be academics-wise, extracurricular-wise, and your leadership positions, if you do have. So we'll go through this very briefly, one by one. Okay, I would say regarding academics-wise, sponsors, usually they don't really look into schools' internal assessments results. And I feel that most of the scholarships that I apply to, the only thing they require is somehow the slips and also the results of major examinations such as PT3, your trials SPM, your SPM result as well. So not to say that you should not, you are not bound to be consistent for your internet assessments, no, but it doesn't play a big role in terms of getting accepted to the next stages for scholarship applications. So there are certain scholarship bodies that they actually don't mind you sending those internet assessments results as well. But the 3 things that they're looking for is basically PT3, trials, SPM, and also the main SPM results. So these are the 3 things that you should watch out, especially for juniors, because usually, especially for SPM, there is a minimum academic requirement that you have to somehow adhere in order for you to pass to the next stages. All right, that's regarding academics. About extracurricular activities, I feel that maybe some of you right here, maybe in Form 3 or Form 4, you still do not have any involvement in any specific extracurricular activities. So I suggest you to somehow look for something that suits with your passion, something that interests you really well. So not to say that you should only stick to one thing, but you don't have to be good in everything. So basically, usually sponsors, they want to see how your extracurricular involvements actually shape you into who you are today, how it actually contributes to your personal development, personal growth, your soft skills, and things like that. So
you're saying, sorry to stop with that. So you're saying that we don't have to actually have a specific type of co-curricular activity? Is that what you're saying? We can join whatever.
Yeah, you can join whatever you want. For example, you don't have to be a debater, or maybe, let's say if you want to pursue engineering, it doesn't have to be specifically innovation that you're bound into. You can enter like mathematics competition, something like that. And basically sponsors, they don't fix a certain extracurricular requirement that they really want. So you can like go into a range of activities. And I think the most important part is that when you go for interviews, for example, you have to highlight how those activities that you did back then in high school actually contribute to your personal growth. Because in the end, it's not the level of the competition that you enter that they see, but it's actually the outcome, how it actually shaped you into who you are today. So that's regarding extracurricular wise. And the last thing is about leadership, in terms of leadership positions. Because I've been receiving like questions, people been asking, is it necessary for us to have like a high rank position in school? So based on my experience, when I meet scholars from other scholarship bodies, not only Yayasan Khazanah, some of them do not actually held high positions back in high school. Like, it's not necessary that you are the club president to be able to apply for a scholarship. No. If let's say you only have, you are the leader of a small project back in high school, which is just a school base, it's fine as long as you portray that from the activity, from the leadership position that you've been doing before, there is a positive outcome to yourself. Means that yeah, basically don't worry too much about not having a leadership position which is high ranked, because in the end, they don't really look at the title, but what they're saying is how you portray yourself as someone who has led a certain group of people before. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Sofea.
Mhm.
This is a question for Maylin. Linking to Sofea, right? When she mentioned about it's not about what kind of co-curricular activities we join, but it's how we reflect. So can you share us a little bit of your experience on how you reflect on your co-curricular activities in order for you to when you like tell the scholarship interviewers how it impacted you, you know, those co-curricular activities?
Yeah, thanks for the question, Muiz. So I think that like what Sofea said, it doesn't really matter what kind of activities you join, but I think that what's important is actually the skills that you gain from them. And the skills that I'm mentioning here are more towards soft skills, which are also known as intrapersonal skills. This includes things like communication, teamwork, your attitude, or like problem solving, things like that, which are transferable. So I believe that in different types of activities, no matter what type of activities you join, you will definitely find that you learned or obtained certain skills, soft skills from your activities. So usually, for my experience, I actually reflected back to on my activities and realized that the skills that I actually learned are stuff like teamwork, time management. So during my interview, I portrayed myself as someone who has these skills, and I used my activities as my examples. So it provides concrete evidence to show that I actually did something like that. And also throughout these activities, I gained experiences and I actually polished all my skills, which are transferable to other activities in the future. So I think these are the things that the interviewers are looking at. The scholarship providers are actually looking at stuff that, let's say if you're someone who's responsible, you showed that during this activity, you prove that you're someone who's responsible, and you're able to show it to the scholarship provider during your interview. They will then know that you're someone who's responsible, and those positive attributes are what the scholarship providers are looking at. So in order to reflect to the activities that you have done, so think of your involvement in them. Like take some time and sit back and think during that period of time where you commit yourself towards this certain activity. Think what you learned from them, and during those experiences, what are the key takeaways that you have? Let's say, for example, if you're doing this, when you're handling a certain project, you face certain problems, and so think of what you did at that time to solve that problem. So you will find out that there are certain things that you actually learned during when you're handling those activities. So basically just sit down and reflect and think about what you did before, because there are definitely things that you took away after you participated in those activities. Yeah.
Just to ask, to follow from Maylin and what Sofea said, is that for students who don't hold leadership positions like the head or something, or head of club or whatever, can they still apply those same skills? For example, if you're a treasurer or someone who you think that they're not really high in the ranking of a certain club, but can they still apply those skills? Go ahead.
I believe they still can actually apply, show that they do have skills in terms of maybe if you're the treasurer, then you can say that you're kind of analytic. So you analyze things, you're very trustworthy, people entrust you with their money and things like that. Bring about examples. For example, if you're the treasurer of a club and then your club like held a program before, so bring up those examples onto table when you're attending an interview.
And also you don't have to be really like high ranked, like as long as you took something away from it and you showed that you gained experience from it and it actually shaped you into the person you are today, those experiences are worth highlighting. It's not necessary that you have to win a national level competition or be like the head prefect or something. It doesn't matter, because all of the scholars out there, they are not all head prefects. They are not all club presidents. So don't worry and just do your best. Yeah.
Even if even if like they're not club presidents or something, right? A lot of scholars today, they face a certain issue that they think, they believe that a lot of the applicants come from elite schools. So do you think this is a problem that a lot of people face? Do you think most of the scholars come from elite schools? Maybe Irfan?
I don't think so, because the term elite school is very subjective, you know. It's not that there's a certain rank of which school is higher than another school. Only in terms of SPM results, yeah lah. But then otherwise, in terms of activities and everything, it's not really that much. And scholars from any kind of school, like even a regular SMK, they can succeed in what they do. It's not really being better than everyone else, but it's being the best kind of person in your situation, in your background. And that's the kind of thing that I want to say, is that everybody can be a leader, but they don't have to be a ranking leader. They don't have to have a badge that says leader to be a leader. Someone who is part of a team project or works underneath someone else is still a leader. So that's the kind of thing that we want to portray here, that not everyone has to have a high privileged background.
All right, thanks, Irfan. So one person from YouTube asked, is getting 9A+ the #1 priority that sponsors look for when they select candidates? Maybe Sofea?
Not exactly, actually, because as long as you pass the minimum academic requirement that they set, then you're good to go. And once you actually step into the interview stages, they won't look back at what you have achieved before. Like maybe they won't refer back to like, oh, you achieved 8 A's, 5A+, 3A. Yeah, so basically if you pass that minimum requirement, your level will be the same as the others attending the same interview as you, regardless of whether someone else's result is better than yours. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, Sofea. To the to the viewers in the Zoom webinar chat, asking regarding popular questions and picking scholarships, if you have if two selected you, I think we're going to cater to that later in the session, right? So final question regarding preparations in high school, right? Irfan, especially right now when we're in the MCO season and we're not in school and we're limited from actually joining co-curricular activities, how do we still build our CV without all these co-curricular activities that we can't do?
Important thing about choosing or doing your extracurriculars is that it doesn't have to be a big event that is like internationally recognized or whatever. It can just be a simple thing that you yourself started because of your passion. So what you need to do is you need to reflect on what exactly do you want to do in the future. And you might not know that yet. So this can be a time for you to explore what you really want to do. So for example, when I was your people's age, like last year or 2 years ago, I really didn't know what I want to do. I didn't know I want to be an engineer, but I knew I really like physics. So I spent the summer break, the holiday, to go research more on that. So that's what you can do. You can go either start a project that relates somehow to the kind of general course that you're doing and you want to go research. So what I'm doing right now is I'm going to research about energy and the energy industry. So I'm going to set up a website where I'm going to type and research and explain about the energy industry. So that's what you can do. You can look for things that you want to explore in the future and write about your process of exploring them. And if you can show that to the scholarship bodies, then they might be impressed because they can see that you are reflecting on what you don't know and what you want to find out. So the key is they want to see your growth, not just where you are.
All right. So you're saying that during the MCO, they can also research about these things in order to keep themselves occupied and in order to build their CV.
Also make sure to somehow document your research because if you research and you just forget about it after the MCO, then it's useless. So what you want to do, you want to somehow write it down or do something out of the research. The research has to birth something.
Okay, cool. Milin, do you have any tips for post-SPM? I know a lot of people are very kelam-kabut after SPM when they don't susun their CJLs or they don't keep their CJLs. Do you have an advice for them?
Okay, I think if you're someone, okay, basically, I have, for me, I've been keeping all my certificates like since I was like in primary school. So like basically, I have the habit of keeping like track of like all my certificates. So one thing, if you guys are like, since it's during MCO, right? If you don't have all your certs together, like I would suggest you to just get a file and like soon everything like properly. So after SPM, you won't be like searching for this cert and that cert. But also about activities after SPM, for what I did was I actually during that break I went to intern for a bit to actually like broaden my experiences. But also I think after SPM, that 7 months. Okay, I mean like not during this MCO period, but towards other people. I think that in the future, once you guys have your gap between going to pre-U and also after SPM, I think that you guys can actually like try to enrich yourself with different things, like you can read more or explore different pathways that you can take. And also you can participate in stuff such as like volunteering. There are a lot of things that you can volunteer with. There's like KYSER Soup Kitchen, and there's just search it out. There's quite a lot of volunteering bodies that you can offer your help to. But since now it's during MCO, you can also check out online courses, because a lot of universities are actually offering online courses for free. So since you guys are like kind of free, you guys can actually learn something new, and maybe somehow you will find that that's your passion. Yeah.
All right, thanks, Milin. Some of the viewers are questioning about their English proficiency, on how when they don't speak proficiently, they think they have a less chance. Do you think that this is true when it comes to selecting for scholarships, selection process for scholarships?
I don't think so, because quite a lot of my friends are not super proficient in English and they still got the scholarship and still studying with me. And the takeaway is that you don't have to be really good in English or whatever, but you need to be able to identify, you know where you are. So you need to know where you are in that thing, and you need to show that you are trying to improve it, but also you are trying to work within your limits. So the key is like, for example, when you're doing an interview and you're not really good in English, it's okay to not be good in English, but if you're doing like a group interview, it's important to work with the other people in your group to be able to communicate the same idea to them and to the scholarship bodies.
I see.
What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think as long as you're able to convey the message that you want to say, then it should be fine, regardless of whether your grammar is perfect or not.
Yeah, so don't worry, just just tell them and convey your message. That's all. You don't have to be super good in English. It doesn't really matter. Yeah. But you need to achieve certain level of proficiency, like that you can actually, speak in sentences. So yeah.
And there's
And
another
also-
question about
yeah.
there's another question about Malay proficiency. Is that important for like GPA or something? Or Mara?
Malay
Okay.
proficiency, sorry?
Malay
Their
proficiency.
yeah.
Their proficiency in the Malay language.
Okay, honestly, for JPA, it's a bit important because there's a whole section of the interview that's in Malay. So for JPA, there is 2 interviews. There's the English one and the Malay one. But it's not like the defining characteristic. It's more like, because both of them are group interviews, so you still need to communicate with your group. So it's the same thing all over again. You need to be able to communicate with the other people in your team to be able to tell the idea to the people who's judging you. And they understand. It's not like they think that we are the best in Malay, the best in English. These people can speak like 10 languages. They know the expectation. They know that we are not super good in everything. So don't worry about it. The key is do not be worried. Just be relaxed, okay?
Okay. So moving on to like having a growth mindset when we apply for these scholarships, right? So we know that nowadays it's damn difficult to like get scholarships because it's so competitive. Everybody's like getting like straight A's is like something like almost everybody, like all the applicants have, right? And as previous applicants, what do you think is the most important value when we apply for these scholarships, regardless if we get it or not? Maybe Sofea can share.
Okay. I think the most important value that you need to have and somehow like nurture this mindset inside your mind while going through application process is to always be resilient, because you have to put that mindset. You have to put the mindset that this is always a learning process, regardless of whether you get it or not. It's gonna be it's gonna worth your time actually preparing for something that let you define yourself even better. Because when I, based on my past experience, when I went for scholarship interviews, it actually helped me to define myself better in terms of knowing my strengths, my weaknesses, what I actually want to pursue in the future. So regardless of whether I get it or not, I know that I gain something beneficial from the whole process itself. Because I always believe that in life, there's always enough spaces for every type of people. So if you don't get it now, you might get it later. And yeah, there's always like a better place for you if you don't get the scholarship. So the whole application process itself, how do I say, what I mean by being resilient is that do more research about the company, about the course you're going to pursue, and somehow based on your past experience and the things you did back in school, look back into those stuffs and see how it reflects your personal growth. So be very determined in terms of getting the scholarship, but I know when disappointment comes, actually when you got rejected, I know how it feels being disappointed after you work so hard, but as long as you take it as a personal learning process for you, it will be a much more joyful experience. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. So, a question from the YouTube, from the YouTube viewers, right? Does learning a third language give us an advantage in scholarships?
I don't think so. I mean, not directly at least.
All right.
I think it actually just shows like that you're eager to learn. You're someone who's, if you took the initiative to learn the language, it might just show that you're someone who's very like, you're not someone who just learn things from the textbook. You're someone who is very excited to learn, and yeah, but it doesn't necessarily give you a plus point.
Yeah.
Okay,
It
so
shows
this is
the passion.
So this is a question from the Zoom section. So I think that a lot of people face a lot of internal conflicts when they want to apply for scholarships regarding should they pick their preferred career path or like their preferred course, or should they pick something that is suitable for the job market in the future. So when you choose your career path, do you choose it based on what you're interested in, or do you choose on what's more convenient for you in order for you to like increase your chances in getting a scholarship? What do you think about that, Irfan?
I think that it's very important to follow your passion, because if you just choose a job based on either the pay or how it's going to look in the future, there's two risks here. The first risk is that the job market can change very fast, especially with stuff like this, with the MCO and everything like that. And the second risk is that you'll be stuck in a job that you really don't want to do. And not only that, you'll be stuck in studying a job for a course for a job that you really don't want to do. For example, if I didn't want to be an engineer and let's say I wanted to be an engineer, but I applied for something like econs. I'm not saying econs is not a good thing, but it's not a good thing for me. So if I had to study econs for like 5 or 6 years in A levels and also in pre-U, in U, then I won't be happy and I won't be able to do my best in that field. And what the scholarship bodies really want you to do is to excel in your field. So that's why you really should follow your passion. And the job market it does affect it a bit, but it shouldn't have as much weightage as your passion. So what do the other two think? What do you think?
I think that for one thing is what the scholarship bodies are looking at is your passion towards the course. So if you don't like the course, if you don't have passion towards the course, how are you going to show it? Like, there's no way that you can really show, you can't really fake your passion, so, or your interest at the very least. So that I believe that you should pick what you like and what you actually are interested in, because to think about it, you will spend, like what Irfan said, you will spend a very long period of time actually doing that certain subject or course. So I believe that one thing for me, happiness really matters to me. So I think that you should enjoy the process. And talking about the job market, there's also, let's say if you're worried that the course that you are pursuing does not really have, like they say that there's no market in the future. But I believe that there are things that you can do to add value to yourself, which brings you as a potential person in the job market in the future. Let's say now you look at it, like let's say if I take up food science, as my degree, and what they want in the future, I know that it's going to be data related and stuff. So if I actually also learn something data related, and add on to my food science, it actually make me someone who's very special and unique in the job market, that no one has a food science and data science relevant knowledge together. So I believe that go for your passion and also be aware of what they want in the job market. So yeah, that's my input.
Do you think it's important for you to be able to like explain what you want to do in the future very well in scholarship interviews? Sofea, maybe?
Yeah, I think it's important for you to actually, they don't really want to see how you know that particular course technically, meaning that you really know into the details, no, but they just want to see how you perceive that course. For instance, during my past interview experience, I'm actually planning to take actual science. So I did some research about it. And there's like two ways I can venture into, which are investments and insurance. So throughout my interview experiences, I showed my inclination towards the insurance sector, in which I believe that there's much more potential that we can do towards, there's much more potential for the takaful industry in Malaysia. So somehow you should take this time to actually research much more about your course and how does it relate to the current issues in the real world, because they usually these scholarship bodies, they're offering you a scholarship with a condition that you have to serve a certain bond for them. So indirectly saying that you have to work for them after you graduated. For example, for YK, we have to serve a bond according to the period of study that we had with them. So when they interview you, actually, they're looking for prospective employees for themselves. So they're not only interviewing a potential scholar, but they're also interviewing a potential employee. So they want to see what can we do to contribute to the company and also to the nation. So I think that's a very important point to actually highlight here, that try your best to actually seek for help from people to study more, to know more about your course before applying for a scholarship.
All right. So some people mention about like how building your CV is a privilege that some people can afford. So like they can go for like international jamborees or like events for scouts, or for example. So do you think, can you like discuss this? Like how people who don't have the privilege to spend a lot of money in order to like cantikkan their CV to also be as competitive as people who can afford it?
I think
okay, I would say that, you know, being more privileged in a family is definitely an unfair advantage, because we need to all understand that in this world we are not living like on a level playing field. So some people will have like some unfair advantages. So people who, like what we said, some people whose family is more privileged will be able to send their child to like some international jamboree or stuff like that. But I believe that if you're in the position where you're not exactly privileged, you're not privileged enough to attend all these costly activities, there are a lot of things that you can actually do. Like as long as you show what you learned from them, and also all these experiences that you have will actually build up your CV for you. And also, since if you're in that situation, I would suggest you to actually look up like in the internet, or always be aware of like different types of opportunities out there. Yeah, what do you guys think?
I think it's also a bit of a, there's also a bit of a plus point for those who who cannot afford to do all these activities that's catered for them, but now they have a chance to start their own activities. So that's actually an advantage for them, because if you actually start your own kind of club or project, whatever, with a group of friends, and you want to achieve something based on your passion, and you have to show all the kind of things that you have to do for organization, teamwork, coordinating, all that, then it's really a plus point for you. You actually will impress the judges a lot better than someone who attended an activity that someone else planned for them.
I just think that you have to grab every opportunity that comes. Yeah, because opportunity only comes once. So when you see something and you think that it suits your interest, then go for it. Yeah, if not, you can just like start a new thing, maybe in school, a new club, like what Irfan said. That's a good idea. And for now, I've been saying that there's a lot of free online courses online, so you can search up for that as well. that would add value to their CV as well.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, and also I think that just a moment. I think that there are also activities such as like those athletics activities, like sports activities like MSSM and stuff like that, which you can participate, which you don't have to actually pay for it. Like the school actually it's actually like a district or state activity which the school actually bears the cost, or they don't even have to pay for it if not mistaken. So I think that try to be more active. And I believe that, like what Sofea said, when you see an opportunity, grab it. Just take a shot. Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so since there's a lot of questions regarding interview tips and group interviews, case studies, I think we're going to move on to that section first, yeah?
All right.
Okay, so first question. Okay, so do you have some tips for introverts to appeal in group interviews or to stand out during group evaluations for like case studies? Like I think Petronas and Yayasan Khazanah Bank Negara all have case study activities. This is for like the future gen lah, because I think this year akan kurang because of the MCO. But for future for years to come, what tips do you have for introverts? Maybe
Who here is
Sofea?
an introvert? Who here is an introvert?
Mainly is not introvert.
Because I'm an introvert.
Okay, then maybe if I can share a little bit.
For group interviews, honestly, something to calm your nerves down. Because when as an introvert, what you do is you start to panic a lot about how people perceive you, and you don't really know what to say the right thing. But as an introvert, I think it's important to be nice to other people, and that's one of our strengths. Is that in a group interview, if you see someone else who's panicking and you're also panicking, if you don't talk to them and you don't help them in any way, you're just both panicking. It's twice as bad. But if you muster up a bit of the courage to help support them and don't talk over them, but you want to support them in a way that they can show their own strengths and you can show your strength in supporting them, then you help both of you guys. So the key is really teamwork. You really need to communicate with other people in your team and try to lessen down the fear of talking. This Zoom call is scarier than any interview I've done. My hands are shaking, man.
And I think based on like some of my trainings in school as well, if I can share lah, I think it's important to not overpower also. If you're an extrovert and you overpower your other teammates, they can also penalize you for that, for not giving a chance for your other teammates to talk. So yeah. Anybody else have any views? Maylin, maybe?
Like what Muiz said, right? Talking about overpowering other people, I believe that, let's say, for just now, if you're an introvert, I believe that what you can do is actually participate, like do something, show that you are able to do something. Like even if you're not the person leading, show that you're able to communicate with other people, but also at times muster up your courage and actually share your ideas. Like I believe in a group, there's usually some extroverts who's gonna be like the leader, and there's gonna be introverts also. So if you're an extrovert, actually really calm yourself down and listen to other people, because sometimes the people who are really quiet, they have really good ideas, like really. So actually listen to everyone, and actually if you see, let's say if you're an extrovert, right, if you see someone who's not speaking up and an introvert who's probably like scared or something, you can actually ask them, like, you know, like let's say call, hello, do you have any ideas? So make them share their ideas with you. It actually is also a plus point, because it shows that you actually know what's going on in the group, and you are actually someone who's willing to listen to other people. Yeah.
Another thing to add, just a moment. For introverts, right, I think one of the best ways to prepare yourself is like to start preparing, to do your own research, because when you know what to say, when you have the ideas in mind, then it will go smoothly during the interviews. So there's nothing to worry much. Just be confident in yourself. So in order to build that confidence, you really have to prepare yourself.
Yeah, practice in the mirror or practice with your parents or friends. It really works.
As cliche as it is, it works. Yeah.
Okay,
And
there are some. Sure.
Right. So about that is another one is teamwork cannot be understated in a group interview. You really need to be able to work with the team, because there's two scenarios. If you don't get the scholarship, it's because you might have either overpowered someone else or you couldn't work well with the team. the even worse option is you somehow you get the scholarship, but then you're stuck with the same people who you were mean to during the interview for the next how many years, and you're gonna have to work with them in the future. Yeah. So you really want to build a good rapport with your peers, no matter what.
Okay. So someone mentioned about how to like talking about overpowering, right? So how do we not overshadow other people? Like, do you have like tips on how to not overpower? Maybe Sofea?
You're frozen.
Yeah. Okay. I think a tip to not overpower other people is that you have to take control of yourself, especially for extroverts, because I've been in groups where people like showing that they really want to lead a group. It's not necessarily that you be the leader, because if you be the follower, also you can still contribute to your ideas to the group. And sometimes I realize that those who tend to overpower people, they tend to not be really favorite in the particular group. So somehow it shows that there's a disruption in terms of communication within your group members. So it's best to actually take control of yourselves and not to go too much overboard, because yeah, that particular interview is not only for yourself, but it's for the other people as well.
I think you should, when you go into an interview, being the extrovert or the introvert, you should be observing everyone and everything which is happening in the room. So let's say if you're an extrovert and if you're the leader taking the lead, you should be really looking at everyone. Like, don't stare at your interviewer. Like, look at your group mates, know what's going on in the group. So if you will sense it if you know that you're overpowering. Like, if you are the only one speaking and no one, like for a very long time, and no one else is doing anything, that means you are overpowering. Like, usually when you're not overpowering, there's gonna be like effective communication and discussions going on. Yeah.
Try to actually encourage the people who are not talking to join in and participate in the discussion as well.
Okay. And if you have time before the actual interview, because you get into your groups first and you have a bit of time to chat, make sure you get to know everyone in your group. Just chat to them casually. What's your name? Where are you from? What kind of hobbies you have? The more you know about the people in your team, the easier it is for you guys to work together.
Some people asked about general knowledge in a scholarship interview. Do you think it's important to have a lot of knowledge regarding like happenings around the world and all?
Depends on the scholarship, I guess.
I think it depends on the nature of the interview. For instance, for YK, right, for stage 3 interview, it's more towards a competency-based interview in which the aim is to get to know yourselves better. So it's more towards personal questions instead of the happenings around the world. But as you proceed into the further stages, like stage 4 and stage 5, you'll be placed in a room with the board of directors. So somehow the level gets intensified a bit, in which there will be questions regarding Malaysia's status, the current issues, and things like that.
But not
so I think that one thing you can do is actually, if you're someone who's not really good with all this general knowledge, you can actually just, before interviews, like read up more on the news. Like, it's not, your general knowledge will not be as good as someone who has been reading all this while, but at least you know what's going on, like, or something related to your career or your field. Let's say if you want to do economics, you should at least know what's going on, like, like,
do you think, like,
for example,
the general knowledge that they should know should only be related to their course, or like anything in general?
Anything in general, yeah, preferably.
Okay.
Because based on one of my experience before.
Sofea first, ladies first.
Yeah. I applied for a course data science under Yayasan Tenaga Nasional because they didn't offer actual science. So weeks before that, I've been reading this one book called 21 Lessons for the 21st Century. So my interview was really intense because like they really wanted to know what I got from that book, because like they say that how did you know all this and things like that. So it shows that your knowledge actually reflects who you are, and somehow it can impress them in one way or another.
And to add to that, I think it's not just about getting the scholarship scholarship or just the scholarship interview. You have to think about the future as well.
Mhm.
Because if you have a lot of this general reading and you research a lot, it'll help you in your course later on, and it will also help you for applications for university. So you have an advantage either way. So why not just read extra?
Okay. So someone asked about that question during interviews when they asked regarding your strengths and weaknesses. So especially when we want to talk about our weaknesses, we wouldn't want to highlight so much about like how we have these bad traits, right? So how do we properly structure in order to make to meet the requirements of the or the needs of the interviewer? What do they actually want to know when they ask us about, like, when they want to know our weaknesses?
Okay, I think that when they ask about your weaknesses, for me, how I answered the question was, I highlight my weakness, but you show how you overcome your weakness. They want to know how you actually overcome the challenge and how you actually learn from being weak, you know, like you actually learn something out of it. So basically, I think that what the interviewers actually want would be what you learn from it, how you overcome it. So think of a time where you face the challenge, and let's say if you're someone who's always late, you can see that you're never punctual, and how you actually, what you did, like what the process of you actually overcoming challenge of you being late all the time. So it doesn't mean it really mean that you need to actually overcome the challenge already. You can see that you are still trying to improve yourself. But as long as you are in the process, or actually you're in the process of improving yourself, or you actually improve yourself, I think that's what they want to see, like your learning process, your takeaways. Yeah.
Self-awareness is really important. Self-awareness.
All right. Okay. Hold on, yeah. Okay, so during interviews, it's also important to mention about our achievements, mention about what we've achieved as a person in high school, or like what we've learned, right? So where do we draw the fine line between talking about our experiences and sharing them with our interviewers, and also being boastful? Because sometimes we know that when we talk, we can also be quite cocky and be quite boastful. So how do we make sure that we don't cross that line? Maybe Irfan.
How to not sound cocky? Honestly, I feel like you need to really say what you learned from the experiences. Because if you just say, I did this, I achieved this medal, then there's a chance of you sounding cocky. But if you say that I did this, and because of that, I learned something about myself or something about other people, then there's more of an openness for you to show that you weren't as good before, but because of this experience, you took something away from it. And it's the same kind of skill that you apply later on when you apply for jobs or like universities or whatever. Never say that you are the best. Say that I did something, I learned something, and because of that, I'm a better person. And always try to keep improving on yourself, not because I'm better than everyone else. That's what I think.
Meaning, do you have a view?
Oh. Mainly's frozen. Alamak. Oh.
Okay, Sofea, do you have a view?
I think regarding not sounding cocky, right? Be true to yourself is one thing, but like what Irfan said just now, you have to like say on what you have learned from the process of actually going through the achievements. I think you should also mention about the challenges that you face, because it shows that, oh, it's not all smooth for you. It means that you've been going through setbacks as well. So you learn from the mistakes, you learn from the experience. So in the end, it shaped you into who you are today. So don't sound too cocky in terms of like listing, oh, I have 50 national achievements. No, it's not that they're looking for. They're looking for the outcomes to yourself.
All right, so let's move on to like online interviews, because it is the season in MCO, right? So Irfan here is a Shell scholar, and Shell is well known for its online interviews. So maybe Irfan can share us a little bit of tips on about how to ace or how to do well in online interviews?
A common thing that people say about online interviews is that it's way more relaxed than a real life interview, because you can just sit here like this, you pakai suit or whatever kat atas, and then bawah you just pakai kain pelikat. And that's the kind of like the difference between real life interviews and online interviews, is that there's less human to human contact. So that can be both more advantageous for you, but also more scary. It's advantageous because you have less chance of like using your body language or whatever and thinking about those things. You can just impress them using your words. But it's also more scary because it feels like you are in your own world and you don't have anyone else to, there's no group interviews, there's no one else to look for help. You just have to, you and the interviewer. And in terms of Shell, so Shell has 2 interview stages. There's the pre-recorded interview stage, which is they have pre-recorded questions and you need to record yourself answering them. And then there's the real call with the actual board of directors or board of trustees. So for the pre-recorded interview stage or those kinds of interviews, just imagine you're talking to yourself or someone who really, really trusts you. So one of your best friends or whatever, just try to explain to them what makes you you when they ask the questions. Because most of these questions are personal questions. Or for Shell, I'm not sure about the others. For the real human-to-human interview, there's a bit of a barrier in terms of the technical issues. Maybe you're not so good with the audio or the screen is lagging or whatever, but don't worry about that. Just do your best to try to work through them. And whenever you feel stressed or anxious or whatever, just try to go back to clear out your mind and go back to the start. What am I trying to tell them? And try to communicate that the best you can. It's difficult, but it's quite fun once you get the hang of it. And we have a lot of practice with all these Zoom calls or all your Zoom classes, so we have a good experience lah.
Okay. So I think because of the setbacks in MCO, right? A lot of people are worried because the interviewers they're scared that the scholarship bodies are sending their reject letters or their successful applicant letters late. So should a student be worried because it's it's like being postponed? Maybe Maylin?
I think that usually, even if it's not during this COVID-19 situation, like sometimes it really takes time for the scholarship providers to actually go through all these applications. So I would suggest you to wait for a bit, like just be patient and wait. But sometimes some of the scholarship providers, they don't send up their rejection letters like really early. They usually send up the acceptance ones first. So like, for example, for Bank Negara, I remember they only send out emails to those who are successful. So I think that just wait and see what happens. Yeah. If you get it, then just go for it. If you don't, just wait for another opportunity. Like, don't really worry.
If you're really curious, you can just email them asking regarding your status of application.
Okay. Right.
But
So
don't
you
be too eager. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you approach them first, lah.
One email is now. Yeah.
Okay. So a question from the Zoom chat, right? JPA's online interview will be group assessments online, right? So how do we effectively portray teamwork through a screen?
I'm the only one who did GPA here, right?
I did GPA too, but
I did GPA also.
I did
Okay,
GPA.
but it's human to human.
Yeah, no, because the JPA one is human to human, but now that it's in the MCO, how are they going to do it in the? It's going to be a bit harder because you have less privacy to talk with your teammates beforehand and whatever. Because now you're just on the screen, you have to talk with the.
Yeah, say you're an applicant this year lah, and then you have to face this. How would you approach that? How would you approach?
The thing is, like, how is JPA giving out the assessment this year? Because we don't really have prior knowledge to that, so we don't know how is it gonna work. Let's say if you have a Zoom chat like this, and we don't know each other, right? And I think it would be nice if you just observe other people and find the right time to say something. But we don't know how it's gonna work, so we can't really give solid like suggestions because we don't know the whole format of it. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, this is quite a question. what do you think about the applicant's social media presence? Do you think a scholarship body takes goes to this extent to like know a little bit more about their scholarship applicants?
I don't think so.
I don't
hope
think so.
not.
I don't
Okay.
think
So
so.
scary, right?
I mean,
That's
like,
quite
if
scary,
you
huh?
want to have a clear profile, just don't do anything bad on your social media. Don't curse on your social media. Like, you
Yeah.
should always be if you want to portray yourself as someone who's very like respectable or someone who's not rude or whatsoever, just don't curse on your social media. Like, or just
Yeah, or
private
maybe
your account.
yeah, or
Private
maybe
your
before
account.
that you
just
just private
private
your
account.
account.
Yeah. Because I don't think that
Yeah,
everybody has the time to check thousands of applicants for your social
Yeah.
media.
Mm-mm.
I don't think
Okay.
so.
So everybody make sure you private your accounts before interviews, yeah?
Yeah, you can.
Okay, so this is a hot question in the comment section. The question about how do you like answer the question, tell me about yourself. So the tell me about yourself question. What do they actually want to know from you when they ask that? Can Sofea share a little bit?
Yeah, sure. All right. So tell me about yourself question is definitely like the wajib soalan for every interview. They will definitely ask you to introduce yourself. And I think the best way to approach the tell me about yourself question is to highlight the things that you want the interviewers to know. So you can start off with basic information about yourself, a little bit about your family background, but don't go too draggy into telling like your siblings' occupation. No, they don't need to know that. Most of the time, based on my experiences, I feel like the interviewers will always pick up questions from what you've said earlier. So let's say if you mention about your interest in volunteering in your introductory answer, then they will somehow pop up a question for follow-up questions later throughout the interview. So my suggestion is to keep it simple but straightforward. Maybe you can add in a couple of sentences regarding the course that you want to pursue, maybe any interesting thing that you want to highlight to them, and you want it to be brought up again on the table during interview. So don't mention something you're unsure of just to impress the interviewers, because this will definitely trap you later in the end. So just keep it simple, but make sure you deliver the things that you want to highlight.
Okay. Does Irfan have a view?
Tell me about yourself. Maybe you really should talk about your passions as well, because they want to see how you're invested in the course that they are gonna sponsor you for. Because remember, they're gonna take you in not just for the scholarship, but also as an employee for most of the cases. So if they're gonna get you a job, you really need to show that you are really invested in what you're gonna do, and not only just the course itself, but also the skills needed in the course. So for example, if I'm doing mechanical engineering, not only am I passionate in physics or mechanics, but I'm also really interested in working as a team with other kinds of engineers. So really carry that forward.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would also say that this question, it's the question, so let's say it's a must answer question, right? This is a question where you should take advantage of and actually say what you want to say, what you want to highlight, because they might not ask you the question that you want them to ask. So I would say in interviews, this is the first question which you set the direction of the interview. So in order to set the direction of the interview, you want to know how you want the interview to go. So actually, every time you answer a question, you think of a follow-up question that they can ask you. And so basically, it's like it's very strategic. You need to know what you want to tell them. So you have to answer something which make them ask you a question, a follow-up question. Yeah, something like that.
Okay. So that means you preempt what they can ask you after that.
Yeah, keep it brief so that they will ask you later.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Some people like in scholarship interviews, they when the interviewer asks continuously question, they find it quite stressful. How do you deal in those kind of stressful situations? Like when you give an answer, right, and then they ask you to like further elaborate or further characterize your answer. So how do you deal with that kind of stress in an interview?
Who goes? I'm thinking that when they ask that, when they like quick, so like quick fire, right? When they do quick fire questions, you really need to gauge your response there in the initial emotional response to the questions. If you feel anger, because some people do, like they feel very like pressured, you know, question. So you feel angry, like why is it asking me a question? So if your initial response is anger, you have to relax a bit and don't take it out on the interviewer. Obviously, if you're angry at the interviewer, then it's not a good impression. So what you want to channel that semangat or that passion, something more towards showing that you have interest in your answer. If your initial response is fear, that you're scared, then try to dissipate that fear by thinking about what you can show them, because this is an opportunity for you. They're giving you more opportunity. So think about that. What are you going to show them more? How about you guys?
Yeah, it actually occurs a few times to some of my friends in which they got the stress test. Is when they pressure you to tell them more about something that you're not comfortable saying, maybe regarding your family background or something like that. It's not basically to undermine your potential, but it's more towards seeing whether you can cope with emotional stability or not. So try not to pour out your anger too much. No, just keep chill and try to answer their question as the best as possible. How do I say? As polite as possible. Without actually going too much. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, sometimes if you actually need a minute, you can just take a deep breath and say, may I have a minute, please? And then only then you can like process your thoughts and then answer the question. Yeah. Sometimes it's fine. It's fine to ask for a minute. Yeah.
So it's fine to ask them, ask the interviewer balik.
Maybe
like
not
mean,
every time, right?
Not
every time, but if you really need it, there are people who do that.
You want them to like clarify the question balik.
Yeah, you can
like,
ask them to
okay
rephrase the question.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Million, okay?
Frozen again?
It's okay. We move on. Okay, so for people who have like a vast knowledge about their surroundings or about their course, right? So do you think like when they explain about what the knowledge that they already have, do you think like they should use very bombastic sentences, or they should just keep it simple and like make it easy to understand?
The second one, definitely make it easy to understand.
Okay.
Because in the workplace, if you're trying to explain...
Sorry, my connection's a bit bad.
Oh. You want to repeat the question, Muiz?
Yeah, please repeat the question. I can't hear anything.
Okay, sorry. So like when a particular individual, they know a lot about a certain topic, right? They did a lot of research and they know like all the terms that they have to use. Should they explain it in a way, should they explain their knowledge in a way that it sounds very bombastic and very impressive, or should they just make it easy for the interviewer to understand?
Okay, this depends on the depth of knowledge you have. If you really, really know what you're talking about, then if you want to take the chance, then you can go for it, because there will be two outcomes. One, you really impress the interviewers. Number two, they know so much more than you, and then they will actually ask you more questions in depth, and then you couldn't answer. So like, it's totally up to you. If you're willing to take up the challenge and you want to like go for it, you can. I mean, like, you might be able to impress the interviewers if you really, really know what you're talking about. Some people who have the surface knowledge of it and they actually talk about it, the interviewers have so much more knowledge compared to you on the certain topic. If they ask another question, a follow-up question or something, like let's say we're talking about a book. If you don't really actually know about that book and the interviewers ask so much about that book, you wouldn't be able to answer, and then they know that you don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, so it's actually it can backfire.
Yeah, don't sound like you know more than you actually know.
Yeah.
Okay. A question from the Zoom section.
It's fine though if you're talking about.
Okay.
Frozen lagi, alamak.
Okay. Is it okay now?
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so a question from the Zoom section. What happens if you're unable to answer a certain question in an interview? Say like you froze, your mind froze, you can't answer.
Oh,
Um,
Like how
if Melin
should,
talking,
Like
how
us
should
now
you,
lah, like kita sekarang ni lah.
yeah, how should like you calm yourself down or something? Maybe like some tips on if you're unable to answer a question.
Okay, number one, always calm yourself down straight after. But you also have to communicate to the interviewer that maybe you're not really well versed in what they're talking about. So it's okay to say that I don't know. It's better to say I don't know than to lie and say that I know about something that I actually don't know. Sofea?
like don't be afraid to acknowledge that you don't know.
yeah.
Or you can just say, I'm not sure about this. And you can say, I will further my research on this. You know, like acknowledge that you don't know, but you're willing to learn more about it.
Yeah, show that you're interested in something, in learning something new. You're agile, something like that.
Okay. Okay. So you know how some of us, like when we prepare for interviews, we tend to like spend the whole week preparing for interviews, right? We like practicing for mock questions. Do you think it's good to have a specific answer in mind, or should we just like have a few answers or be open to like different ways to answer a question?
Not too specific in terms of you like defining it paragraph by paragraph, not that way. But I think it's okay if you want to like list out some points and ideas for certain common interview questions, because it will somehow make your conversation with the interviewers much more in a good flow, in a way to say that it'd be better for you to somehow prepare beforehand. But yeah, sometimes the questions are not too common, so you have to like adjust to those types of questions as well.
But I think that one thing you should do before interviews will be actually reflecting on yourself. So actually, when you actually know what's going on and you reflect on yourself enough, then during the interview, honestly, no matter what questions they throw you, usually there's a way to answer. Like just answer with your experiences. Like that's one thing you can do to answer questions. Yeah.
So maybe before an interview, it's good to like recollect your thoughts rather than thinking about a specific answer lah. Okay.
Yeah.
Basically, get to know yourself better before coming for an interview, because it's basically an interview about yourself. So if you're able to portray yourself well, they would somehow consider in awarding you the scholarship or not.
Okay. So last question about interviews. Do you think when they ask for our opinion, we should like stand our ground, or like we should be flexible to change our stance?
Flexibility is always important, especially when you're working in a team, because your opinion might be different than someone else's opinion. And it doesn't mean that you're right. But also be ready to defend your position when, so a group interview or whatever like that, or when you're just talking to the interviewer and they have an opinion that's different from yours, it's not a debate. That's the key thing. You're not trying to win over them. The way you win in an interview is by explaining your ideas clearly in a way that you understand them and the way that the interviewer can understand, but also be able to consider the reasons why the other people are having their opinion. So as long as you can see weightage for both sides, then it looks like you're more mature than if you just fire your stance.
Cool.
I think that's the case for group interviews, but if you go for like personal interviews, especially if they ask you if they would like to change your course from one course to another, I think for me myself, I would choose to stay true to my decision before, because it shows that I'm really into that one particular course.
I guess
for
it
me,
depends
right?
on,
I think Sophia's way is actually a way to answer the question, but there's also another way to answer this kind of questions. Let's say if they say they would like to change your course, right? Let's say my aim to study this course is to actually help the community change something, like, you know, to make a change in this country or whatever, right? I can actually say that, yeah, I'm really, really interested in this course. However, let's say if it's someone who's willing to, like, you know, flexible, right? You can say, if it's not too far away from what I'm interested and passionate about, I'm willing to take up the challenge and learn something and actually take the challenge for this course, because it also aligns with my aims and mission to actually make a change for the community in the future, something like that, you know, along the lines. Yeah.
It depends on your personality and the course that you're choosing now.
Yeah, and also the situation.
How do you answer the question when they ask you, why do you deserve this scholarship? Should you promote yourself or how?
I think for me myself, I would somehow, maybe they have been asking about your strengths and weaknesses before. So you might put in your strengths in there, but at the same time, I believe that it's always good to somehow let them know that your principles align with their vision and mission, especially if you do have a bond with the company. For example, like Yayasan Khazanah, it's more about giving back. So if it does align with your principles, then you say that, why not? Why shouldn't I not get your scholarship? Because what I am aiming for, what I'm dreaming for, is also the same as what the company's direction towards growth. Yeah.
You really should research on the specific companies or scholarship bodies, like values and missions and visions. Because if you know that and they align with yours, then they know that you're the right person for that company.
Okay, let's move on to like let's go back
potential
to,
employee. So
let's go back to writing resumes, right? Maybe just one question. So what's the secret to like talking about yourself when you want, or like standing out when there is a limited word count, a word limit? You guys have like a specific way?
For the essay, right?
I think some scholarship bodies, they have like prompts that you have to follow and have to fulfill.
For me myself, I find that there's no like perfect formula for a perfect scholar or perfect essay. So you can write it in any way you want, be it narrative or maybe a bit more factual. But to make your essay somehow stand out, I feel that based on my own personal experience, it's best to portray your interest in your course, maybe highlight about the activities that you've done before, and why those activities actually trigger you towards the direction of your course. You don't have to be too technical. For example, if you want to be an engineer and then you say that, or you want to, and then you bring up like physics formula, not all too technical, but it's just basically you have the idea of the course and you portray it in the essay in a way that your skills and also the activities that you've done has a link to the course that you would like to pursue.
I think that because if you're applying now on let's say you're an SPM giver, right? If you're applying on that level, they will totally understand if you don't really know a lot about your course. Like, it's reasonable. So it's fine that if you don't really highlight a lot about your course, but also show your passion. But let's say if you're applying on like applying to university and stuff like that, I think that's a different story. But I don't know because I can't speak from experience. Yeah.
Usually for scholarships, it would be the essay would direct more towards the course you're interested in and how you can contribute to your company. So I guess do more research on this.
Okay, so someone from the audience asked about is requesting for you guys to share your personal experience in specific bodies. So maybe this can be quite draggy, but can you guys tell a little bit about the similarities or like the general things that every scholarship body has? Can you guys share that?
It's the time for us to fikir, remember balik.
Yeah.
What's like the most important thing for you to keep in mind?
I think overall, I didn't apply a lot lah, not like Sofea lah, but overall, I think that they always keep asking about your growth. They don't want to see how good you are now. They always want to see how you can improve and what you've learned from before. So that's more of the like spiritual, personal side lah. But on the technical side, they also want to see your soft skills and passion. That's really important. All the soft skills that you've picked up and how you can show them, and also all your passions.
Meili, maybe you have a view?
I think that from my experience, I think that they usually want to see, like what Irfan said, they want to see your growth. And also what they really want to know is who you are as a person. So most of these interviews, they just want to know you, like they want to know who you are and what you can actually give back to the country or to the specific company. So actually, I think that you should know your values, know who you are, and you're good to go. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with all of them. I think the best approach, because some of you will be attending to like a few interview, maybe in the same week, in the same month. So it will get all jumbled up. But the similarity is that all of them requires you to know yourself internally. Means that you know your passion, you're really sure that this is the thing that you want to do. I know that at some point you won't be quite sure, is this really the right course for me? But try to portray that you're confident that this is the scholarship for you. And yeah, again, I say, be well prepared. Really focus on maybe the company's mission and vision to actually see if it aligns with your course and principles.
Ni nak promote Shell sikit, because Shell. But I found that out of all the interviews I did, the Shell interview was the one that was really the most personal, because the others had a lot of case studies or technical stuff, like your general knowledge. Shell, they're just asking, who are you? What are you proud of? How have you worked with the team before? And it's all very personal questions. So just promote lah, Shell. Shell.
Yes, sir.
You rejected it.
Hey.
Okay. Hold on, yeah. Do you guys have like any other questions that maybe I might have missed? Something that you want to highlight?
One they keep asking, should we lie about our parents' income? Should we talk about parents' income? What if you're really poor?
Okay. So should you guys like go over your morale in order for you to increase your chances to get a scholarship? No.
Because you'll find out either way. Because you still have to submit all the forms, the parents' income.
No, like, just be honest about it. How can you cheat off the slips? I don't know.
But
but
how can you cheat?
I think that because there's different types of scholarships, right? Yeah, right. There's merit-based and also need-based. So let's say if you're applying to merit-based scholarship, they don't honestly they don't look at like your parents' income or whatsoever, because it's a merit-based. So no matter how rich you are, how poor you are, don't really care if it's a merit-based scholarship. If it's a need-based, there's usually like an income cap. So I think that, I don't know, like for me, I will not go against my moral to cheat off that income gap. Because if you're past the income gap, you know that there's a lot of people out there who need that scholarship as well, you know. Yeah.
I also think that like a clarification from Azim, he said that when they find out that we lie, they can also withdraw our scholarship and they can like sue us for misrepresenting your facts. So thank you, Azim.
Yeah, you can get negative money from the scholarship.
Yeah, man. They can like charge you as well.
So what you want to do is really look at the scholarship and whether it's a merit-based or need-based. Because if you apply for a need-based scholarship and you really don't need it, then don't worry about not getting it. It's better off with someone who really needs it. Because think about you're also giving back to society like that.
But personally, do you feel like how merit-based scholarships also give like prioritize they prioritize people who are from low-income backgrounds?
I don't think so. I'm a Shell scholar.
Honestly.
I don't think so.
Yeah, as a Shell scholar,
I don't think so too.
Out of all 6 of us, 7 of us, there's not really there's no preference over a certain income background. Everyone is equally represented.
All right. So we leave that for the interviewers to decide lah. Okay. Since there's a hold on, yeah. Okay. Since there's like 10 more minutes, do you guys have like final words of advice for your juniors?
Oh, pressure.
I think just take your shot, honestly. Like really, just take a shot, just apply. If it's yours, it will be yours. So even if you don't get what you want for now, that means that it might not be the best for you, you know? Like even if you have the conventional mindset that success is defined by getting a scholarship, but to be fair, honestly, I don't think so, because I think that there's so many other things in life which define success. It all depends how you yourself define it, you know? So you live your own life. So I believe that just take a shot, and if you get it, then it's good. If you don't get it, don't think that you're any less than anyone else, because you have your own potential. Everyone is different. So maybe it's just that your personality does not really align with their company or what so. So I would say just always constantly aim to improve yourself. Yeah, because learning is a continuous process. So have a growth mindset.
But Melin, if I could ask something, when you say take your shot, right? Should an individual apply for every single scholarship that they can find, or they should apply for scholarships that only provides their course?
Okay, it's up to you whether you're flexible enough. Like let's say that some of the courses, okay, if you take it and you can actually apply first if you want to, and then if you really got it, if you reject it, they offer your place to someone else. But if you really know that you will not accept the scholarship at all, like there's no way, let's say there's no way for me to do like engineering, so I won't apply for engineering. So I know that I will reject the scholarship for sure if I get engineering. Then why you apply, right? So if you know that there's a chance of you accepting it, I would say apply.
Okay. Sofea, do you have anything to share? Your last advice?
My last words would be genuine. In terms of applying, you have to stick to your principles and be true to yourself. It's okay if you don't get the scholarship, because I said just now, there's always enough spaces for all sorts of people in this world. So don't worry if this isn't the time for you. Maybe the time will come later. There's a lot of opportunities out there. Do grab the opportunity to apply for scholarships after your SPM. Seek out for help if you do need help from maybe any of us later. We're ready to help you, inshallah. And also, for the juniors especially, do keep up with your activities at school at the moment, because this is really your chance to somehow unleash your potentials, because all this will become the proofs for you later on when you apply for scholarships.
Okay, Irfan, do you have any final words?
Okay, this is not really a final word, but there's a question that I keep seeing also. Is that people are asking, after you get the scholarship, is it difficult to either maintain a scholarship, or how's life as a scholar? And I think people don't really hear about that a lot, do they? So you want to just quickly talk about that very briefly before we end?
Sure.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, as a scholar, I think there's a lot of pressure depending on the scholarship body, but generally there's a lot of pressure on getting the grades that you need to keep the scholarship. Because there's always, in the agreement, you always see that you need to get this grade in this exam to maintain the scholarship. Or otherwise, you might have the risk of getting a warning letter, second warning letter, and then you get dropped. So there is a pressure. But if you can get into the scholarship in the first place, I'm pretty sure that most of us are strong enough to stay in the scholarship, that kind of thing. But you need to make sure your mental health is prioritized. Always prioritize mental health. If you go crazy because you study too much, then you're not in the right place. It's better to leave the scholarship if you really cannot. So always prioritize your mental health. Yeah.
Do you think it's okay, like say you're suddenly studying in the middle of your A-levels or IB or something, right? And then suddenly you have a change of mind in what course you want to pursue. Do you think you should share that with your scholarship providers, or you just keep it quiet and just like pursue what you applied for?
It depends on the scholarship. Kalau for me lah, for Shell, I'm very, very close to my the other Shell scholars and also the coordinator and provider. So we just chat about that, and a lot of us have changed our minds in our course, and it's fine. But I don't know about other scholarships.
Very
How about
open.
YK?
Yeah,
It's very open for
YK
Shell.
as well.
Okay.
YK, you can change your course throughout like the A-levels period. So if let's say you change your mind in between, so there's always like chance for you to change the course.
Okay.
But I know that some scholarship providers are really rigid with the courses, such as like GPA. I think Petronas is quite rigid as well. Yeah. I'm not exactly sure. But so I would say that be aware when you're applying. But let's say if you have a change in mind, there's no harm of bringing it out of the table, because if they say that they will not sponsor you if you do another course, then that it's up to you to think whether to continue going under the scholarship or not. Yeah.
Also, please talk to your seniors and all the previous scholars, because they have more experience than you, and you can really talk to them about how because they went through all the same experiences as you. So okay, talk to them now.
So like due to the reduce of like scholarships being provided, especially during this MCO phase, and we're unsure about the economy, what advice do you have to people who still want to pursue their overseas education? Or like, do you think there's, I know there's a lot of opportunities. Do you guys want to share something to like keep your spirits high or something?
Opportunities. Well, technical wise, I'm not very sure on how everything's going to work, but spiritually, I guess no matter what happens in the world or in your life, there will be a way for you to climb out of it. And there will be a way for you to show your passion no matter where you go, even if you're not sure on your course.
All right.
Because I think that's a challenge. A lot of people are not sure on their course nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Some of them are requesting your IG accounts. I think like so I also think it's quite important because a lot of questions have not been catered to, and I think it's a very good opportunity for them to actually approach you and about the questions better. So maybe you guys can text your Instagram account in the Zoom webinar chat.
How about the YouTube people? Can they see?
YouTube people, I will send to them.
Wait, how do we do it? Just type in the webinar chat.
All right. That's it lah. Habis. Privacy gone.
While I would like to thank everybody for attending today's webinar. Thank you so much to Sofea, Irfan, and Komilin for being here today and for sharing to us some tips and tricks on how to do well in interviews. And especially Irfan for like the online part, yeah?
Yeah.
So thank you so much everybody for attending. And don't forget to subscribe to Cemerlang for more content like this. We're going to do a lot more webinars. We're going to do a lot of more, we're going to have a lot more articles about how to do well in interviews. So how you can do that is just to text a hello to our Cemerlang online magazine on WhatsApp. So the number is 018-244-0355. So the number is 018-244-0355. And you just have to text a hello and then we'll get you subscribed in the magazine. All right. Okay, thank you so much, everybody.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you,
right.
Muiz.
Everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Muiz.
Bye.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you, guys.
Stay at home.
Bye.
Kena buat ni.
Stay safe.
Good luck.
Aduh, Melin's frozen again.
Good luck. Yeah, good luck,
Yeah,
guys.
good luck. It's so important. Come on lah, Melin.
Maylin.
What do I do?
This one.
Okay. This one.
Wait, what?
Okay. Emoji.
Oh, okay.
Wait.
Oh, you're frozen. Okay,
okay.
Nice.
Okay.
Dah.
Right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
bye.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
We'll stop all your AG.
We'll stop all your IG. Okay, Daniel.
Okay. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.